Hey everybody, Don here again, and welcome back to Ragged Edge Lure Works. Well, if you recall, I think 2 videos ago, I painted up 20 of these square bills in a pattern that I was calling my Desert Camo Crappie. And I painted these up as a fundraiser for my friend Aaron's nonprofit organization called Labyrinth Therapeutic Services. Aaron's a combat veteran, did 2 tours in Afghanistan, came home with PTSD, and started a nonprofit to help other veterans and first responders with PTSD. So I originally painted up 20 of these, and I was selling them for $25 a piece, and 100% of the proceeds were going to Labyrinth. They sold in 2 days. So I was tickled to death. I decided to paint 20 more, and I still have a few of these left. So if you're interested in getting one of these, reach out to me. This is a great cause, and I am going to donate 100% of the proceeds from the second 20 as well. What I decided to do as a little enticement was I'm going to paint up 2 pretty cool different lures. This one is a topwater rat, a jointed rat. It's got this tail on it, and it doesn't have a wake bait type of a bill, but I have floated this thing, and it does float a little tail heavy, but I think when I put hooks on the back, it'll probably even out. So I'm going to paint this thing up. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to paint it. I think I'll do something. I'll just call it like the Desert Rat. And it'll have a Labyrinth decal on it. The other one I'm going to paint up is this cool glide bait. This is a bass-shaped lure. And I'm going to paint this thing up in a smallmouth bass pattern. And I'll call this one Sergeant Smallmouth. And the deal was, or is, if you bought one of these lures and you catch a fish with it and you send us a picture with the fish with a lure in its mouth, I'll enter you into a drawing, and on the 4th of July, I'm going to be drawing 2 names, and the first one to get back to me gets his choice of the smallmouth or the rat, and the other person will get the remainder. So let's get to painting. I want to talk about these blanks first, though. All right, so most of the lure blanks that I paint up are this type of clear plastic. And once they're primed and painted and I put the clear coat on them, the clear coat takes very well to this type of plastic. I'm using the 2-part True Coat epoxy. But I have painted some lures with this kind of plastic. I did a couple of big musky lures. And the problem I found with this is that the True Coat tends to puddle up a little bit. And so as I've learned a few things, I'm going to try something a little bit different. Once I prime these up, I'm going to avoid touching them with my hands to keep any finger oils from contaminating it at all. I'm going to be wearing gloves, but I'm also going to spray on some 40-50 UVLS, but I'm also going to put some 40-30 in with the primer, and then I'll probably put a couple coats of UVLS on this stuff before I try the epoxy and see if that works. So I'm going to start off today. We're going to paint Sergeant Smallmouth, and then in the next video we'll paint the Desert Rat. So now let's figure out some colors. All right, well, we roughed that up a little bit. Not really roughed it, but just kind of buffed it. I'm just going to wipe it down with alcohol just to get any finger oils and whatnot off of it. And then we're going to put it on the helping hands and put some primer on it. Yep, that'll do it. All right, we're going to start off priming this thing with opaque white. but I'm going to add some 40-30 balancing clear, which helps with adhesion. And we're going to thin it down a little bit, and we don't need that much. Let's see what we get. Just cleaned out both of my airbrushes. For this particular round, I'm going to use the Master. Kind of hard to see with this body being white. I'm probably going to put on a couple of light coats. Heat set that, and then we'll come back with a second coat. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover that body with this this kind of a sage green, and I'm hoping that when I put the mesh over that and then start putting some other colors, that the scales will kind of show up. Really an experiment, because I'm not sure how much I really want those scales to show. I don't want them to be real distinctive, but I want there to be like a hint of scales underneath the main paint. So let's throw some of this in the cup. And mix it up. This is pretty thick stuff. I'm going to really have to thin it quite a bit, I think. All right. Yeah, because the stuff is fairly thick, I want to use the Master. It looks like there's some little spectacles in there. I don't know what that is, but little spectacles, little specks. But that's about as dark as I want it, I think. Let's get that opened up a little bit. I don't really care that it's got some little specks in there, because this is really just going to be a base. Underneath the scales. All right, so because this is going to be the base under the scale, we're going to cover it with UVLS. All right, so I don't want any scales on this fin. So what I did is I took another blank and I put some masking tape over it and then just cut it out with an X-Acto knife. So I'm going to transfer this over to here, and then we'll put the screen, the mesh on it. I want to avoid touching this lure as much as I can with my hands. There we go. I just want to avoid getting scales on the majority of that fin. All right, you can see I've got this wrapped in mesh now, so the scales are diamond shaped, diagonal. And now I'm going to cover most of this with this pearlized copper, and that'll be the next base coat. All right, got some pearl copper, and let's see what happens here. All right, so I thinned that out pretty good, and I don't want it to get runny. All right, now before I unwrap this, I'm going to put just a little bit of detail moss green from a distance, just to tone down that that gold a little bit. Let me crank my pressure way down. Yeah. Just a little bit. I just want to tone down that gold just a little bit of that, let's say, copper. All right, so I'm kind of debating whether I want to start putting the bars down this thing while the scales are still on it. I don't think I am. I think I'm gonna take this mesh off, see what it looks like, and then we'll put the bars on the top. Let's take a quick look. Hopefully those scales show up a little bit. Whoop. Like I said, I don't want them to be super noticeable, just enough. And they do, they show up just a little bit. I kind of like that. All right, so now what's next? I think we're gonna put some sepia, and I think I'm gonna use the sponge method. All right, I mixed up a little bit more moss green. I'm gonna do a little bit on the face from a distance. There, we dulled that down a little bit more. Put a little moss green on the nose, a little bit on the back. All right, I'm liking that now. All right, I think the next thing I'm going to do is cover that back up with UVLS because I'm going to do this and the bars next. So let's get that covered back up. All right, you can see now I've done just the opposite I did when I protected the fins. Now I'm going to protect the rest of the body. I'm going to mix up a little bit of sepia, just a very light spray on the fins, just to accentuate it a little bit. I think what I'm going to do first, I was going to try to paint with a very fine tip brush and paint these fin spines. I don't know what you call them, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to pencil those in just to show a little bit of a line. All right, let's see if I can. I'm not very good freehand, so that's kind of why I don't want to try that with a paintbrush. But if I can fill that line in just a little bit with this pencil, then it'll show up just a little bit darker. Yeah, just going to hit this very lightly. Yeah, let's dry that, see what it looks like. And I don't know if I mentioned it, but before I put this tape on, I gave this whole thing a really good heavy coat of UVLS. Let's see what it looks like. Just didn't quite cover it enough. That one looks a little bit better. All right, next thing up, we're going to put the bars on this thing. All right, so I'm going to try to put the bars on using the oh, you know what? I might just use this brush and get this really thinned out. Let's give it a go. Yeah, this is kind of working. I've got it really thinned out. And this way, I think my scales will still kind of show through it. And it doesn't look very dark like right now, but when I put the clear coat on it, I think it's going to look pretty decent. It's very thinned out, so you can see it's almost bubbling up. Not bubbling up, but pilling up. Yeah, I like that because it's very faint, you know, not as heavy as like when I do my perch bars. But I am going to use the sponge to do the rays that come off of the across the gill plate. Yeah, I like this. I like this a lot. That's just me, though. Experimenting as I go, as always. Thing I'm gonna do is just put a little sepia down the back from a distance. I thicken this paint up a little bit. Just want to darken that up a little bit. A little bit around the eyes. Oh man, I'm really liking the way this came out. I have my pressure turned way down and giving it that kind of a bronze look. You know, they don't call them bronze backs for nothing, right? Yeah, I'm gonna heat set that, put some eyeballs on it, and call it done. Man, that came out way better than I anticipated. I'm happy. All right, well, here is the finished product, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty tickled with the way this came out. Never tried to paint a smallmouth before, and I thought it came out looking pretty good. I was also happy that I had no issues with the epoxy puddling up or pulling away anywhere. It came out really nice. So here's the thing. We have Aaron's logo on the bottom as well as mine. And I'm happy to say that from a Facebook post that I put out, I'm now down to having only 2 of the square bills left. So if you want a chance to win this, man, reach out to me as soon as you can, because I got a feeling the last of these square bills will be gone before the end of the day. So yeah, happy to be able to support Aaron and his nonprofit, and thankful for everybody else who is supporting us as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.